Attitude, attitude, attitude. Do you know your own attitude? I thought I did, but wow. When I started examining things, I had attitudes I didn't even know I had. Or at least I pretended I didn't have. That happens too, you know. People pretend a lot that, oh, I'm not that way, but but then they really know that they are that way, and then they're suffering it. And God tells you, turn to me, I'll turn to you, and if you'll do so, even for a moment, you'll see it. But it takes seriousness. You have to be serious about it. You have to form your questions that when you get the answers, you'll understand them. And believe me, it's actually very simple in Scripture if you actually read the words and take the intent, because it's a story within a story. The essence of a story is your message, first person. And that's what you want to hear. And that's what you will hear if you'll go into silence, be still, and know that I'm God with you always, right?
Absolutely. You said two things, so I want to touch on both of them quickly. You said design your self-talk, and most of us are not doing that. We just haphazardly talk to ourselves, and we allow anything to fly in our mind. And so, of course, we wonder why our life is, chaotic. But then you were just speaking, and you were just talking about the importance of, as you're sitting there thinking and contemplating, just being mindful of what you truly are giving your attention to, and said, be serious. I mean, literally take charge and really think from what it is that you want to create, to design, that you want to manifest in your own lifestyle.
Yes. What are we doing? We're giving them the information that we got. And we're sharing it with them because it works for us. And since God is no respecter of persons, and his message is for everybody, and he's not denying you anything, that puts you in charge, doesn't it?
It does.
So they are makers of themselves. Isn't that so?
It is so. And initially, that's really a hard pill to swallow, because we really want to believe that there's something outside of us that's causing the life that we tend to be living. And the truth of the matter is there's only one cause. And you said, turn to me and I'll turn to you, based off of, Scripture. And that's it. Once we understand that, when we look in the mirror and we see the cause, and that we are the cause, and that we're one with the cause, then we will cease to look outside of ourselves, knowing that our help does not come from the hills, but it comes from the Lord within.
Yeah, I know you have a vegetable brain, as we all do, but you can program it any way you want, and you have programmed it for the life you're living right now, because you're always thinking ahead of your evidence. So if you're always thinking ahead of your evidence, then you have a change. You can make a change, and you can design. We're here for. We're here to direct our own thinking and feeling. But if you're not directing it, well, good luck with that. Wouldn't you say?
I would, and I want to go back to what you just stated. We're a beautiful energy system. And as Mr. Lindell stated, we are not our DNA. We're not our origin of history, where we came from, our skin color, our nationality. We're spiritual beings. And we can program change into our lives by simply changing our mind and thinking upon what it is that we desire to have manifested in our lives.
Yeah, why think about things you don't want to do? I mean, things you don't want to be. Why think about those? And we do. We do that. I catch myself all the time. And you have to be noticeable as to what you are talking to yourself about. Even that eludes us because we're not focused on it. If you're focused on what you're talking to yourself about, tell you, you'll be surprised. And you'll also find out that you're a liar. I mean, we lie to ourselves all the time. And we take no credit for that. But you do lie to yourself. And I lied to myself for years and years and years and didn't ever caught it. But it is with you to catch if you'll look for it. Because what you're looking for is looking for you. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking about things that are unlovely and of not good report, that's what you're going to be experiencing more of. Not just the moment that you're thinking of it, but it'll continue as long as you have that idea in mind. So drop what is not taking you where you want to go. Just forget it, drop it, however you do that. Think only on things that are lovely and of good report, and I know what a challenge that is, because even now I have to stop and think, what am I saying? What do I really want to experience that? No, well then stop thinking about it. It's really that simple, isn't it?
It is, and I've caught myself in that same dilemma of thinking something that was not always beneficial. And understand, we all do this. You know, I don't want the listener to think that they're the only one dealing with this, facing this. We do this day in and day out. But as Mr. Lindell stated so often, more aware is better. You may catch yourself one or two times throughout the day, but the second you start doing that, it's going to be easier and easier to detect that self-talk that is not taking you to where you want to go.
Start. That's all there is to it. You have to start. And that's all you're required to do. You're required to change your mind, change your world. It's as simple as that. And if you'll do so, you'll see so, and then you'll be encouraged to keep doing so even longer and longer. And that's the whole point of it. If you start, you have to start, right?
Absolutely. And it goes back to, the beginning discussion, be, do, have. You have to start being whatever it is that you desire to be. Once you start that, once you get on that path, and if you don't give up, if you persevere, you're going to see the benefits and the outcome of your desired end. But you first and foremost must start.
Yes, I have to confess, it took me years. But then again, I didn't have the messages that you're getting until I heard Neville Goddard. And he told me things that I had thought about off in the distance at times, but I had thought about it, but I never gave it any credence. But it is what you want to do and be and have. All you have to do is choose it. You're choosing every moment what you'll think, what you'll feel. What are you thinking and feeling? Because that's the answer you're looking for. What are you thinking and feeling? That right there is the answer. I mean, if you'll look at that, what you're thinking and feeling at the moment, you'll see the answer, or you'll know the answer, whether you take it or not, but it is there with you, and it is in your mind, because you're given to choice. You're given to choose. And if you're not choosing, then you're being chosen for. And people who are chosen for are very rarely happy.
Yeah.
Isn't that so?
It is so. And you spoke a moment ago about the lie. And I want to touch on one of those lies. The lie says, this is just who I am. I can't change what I think. I've been thinking like this is how my family thinks. This is, ingrained in our culture. Whatever the lie is that you're telling yourself that's keeping you locked in, trapped in a life that you don't want to be living at the moment, then you need to acknowledge the lie and then begin to dispel the lie by thinking a new truth. And you decide on that truth based on where you want to go. Once you decide on where you want to go, create for yourself a new dialogue. Mr. Lindell spoke earlier about reprogramming your self-talk. reprogram your self-talk and begin saying what it is that you want to have manifested in your life and allow that to be your new reality.
Yeah, that's what you do. You have to actually impart a new consciousness, because consciousness is always being objectified. What are you conscious of being and doing? You can change it in a minute if you'll do so, but it usually doesn't work that simple, because you're so conditioned to the ongoing drama, and some of the things seem like it's an awful chore to do it, but actually God is on your side. Do you understand that? He's on your side. He's not denying you anything. All the denial that you're facing is self-denial. It's the way you're thinking. It's you who's bringing upon yourself everything you don't want because you're thinking of it. Change your mind. Change your if you couldn't do it, then the whole message of Scripture would be nothing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said something. You said, listen, I know that it's an awful chore. And the thing is, it's not because of what you got to do physically. That's part of it. But the other part of it is what you have to become mentally. And you're battling not only with the world without, but your own self-talk or ego. Let me call ego out. And ego's job is to protect you. The way that ego protects you, ego's not bad. I don't want to make ego bad. I want you to understand what ego's doing, though. Ego keeps you safe by keeping you in the status quo. So if you try to step beyond that, because the beyond is unknown, you don't know that if I do this, I can become a multimillionaire, or I can be in a loving relationship, or my health can be restored. You don't know that. So because it's the unknown, ego says, no, you don't want to venture out there. You don't know about that. So let me keep you safe. And that's where that negative self-talk tries to do, is lock you into place so that you don't venture out beyond your comfort zone.
Yes. As you think you are. That's what Scripture says very plainly. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The heart, the feeling nature, the nature of your thinking and feeling. What is the nature of it? You can examine that and find out for yourself what is the nature of what you're saying. Is it positive or is it negative? And you can do this because you were told to do it, and why tell you to do it unless he knew you could do it if you wanted to? And that's what we're talking about when we say the hunger comes upon you. If the hunger comes upon you, if you're really interested in knowing first person, you can do so. It is given that you're given to know first person. And if you want to know first person, go sit in the silence, shut up, be still, and know that I'm God right here with you, right now. Talk to me. He tells you, talk to me. You're not talking at him, you're talking with him. You understand? That's the difference. I'm right here with you. You don't have to talk loud because I'm not that far away. That's the whole story, isn't it?
It is the story, and you were talking about, question the nature of your self-talk. Now, many of us say, well, I don't know how to do that. You could know the nature of your self-talk by looking at the outcome of your life. If you're continuously reproducing things that you don't want to manifest in your life, look to your self-talk creator. Now, I know that that's not always easy to look at ourselves and say, man, I'm doing this. But the second that you do it, you become one of the most powerful people in the world because so few do it.
Yes. Yes. Everybody intends to, but later. And when later shows up and says, are we ready now? You say, well, later. And then you forget it. And for how long you forget? I would forget it for months, even years. I mean, really, it's that serious. You have to stay focused. And when I say stay focused, you're focused all the time on something.
Yeah.
But did you choose it? Is the life you're living? Did you choose it? because you're given choice. And if you're not liking your life, then you're not the one choosing. It's you to take hold, take the reins, and guide. You're the one to guide you, not without, because everything on the without is secondhand. And if you're looking out there for help, it always comes at a great cost, and also deprives you of actually getting the right answers too, because what you're paying attention to is what you're actually experiencing. I think, did they come out right?
It did, because that's the fact. I mean, what you're thinking about is your life of experience. As Mr. Lindell will often say, you're always thinking ahead of your evidence.
Yes. Yes, you are. All you have to do is just sit in silence and just think about, what am I thinking about and what's happening to me? And if what's happening to me is what I was thinking about, then you're in charge, even if you're out of control. But you're still the thinking, feeling being. If you're not religious, you don't claim to be religious, you're a thinking, feeling being. And Scripture talks about as you think you are. So you have everything you need nearer than hands and feet to accomplish anything you want to accomplish if you'll stay the course, if you'll stand and see the victory. And that's what you're told to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you spoke of a thinking, feeling being that we all are, a lot of times what we see as thinking, feeling beings are those around us. And we want to impact, change their lives. We want to see them transform. We want to see them stopping their negative habit. And yet we haven't got our own thinking right. Creators.
Yeah.
First put on your own oxygen mask, then help those around you.
Yeah.
Get this stuff down for yourself first, then help your loved ones, your parents, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your children. Get your thinking right. Let them see you as, somebody who's doing this stuff and doing it successfully. Then they may approach you, and I'm speaking from experience, then they may approach you and say, what is it that you're doing? And then they're going to be more apt. But if we just start trying to evangelize and change people, they're going to be less apt to want to believe or take hold of what it is that we're saying.
No, you're absolutely right. You have to approach it right. In the beginning, if you'll remember, the people asked the representatives of Jesus. They didn't understand what was being said, and so they asked them, "Are you guys drunk with new wine?" They said, because they sounded overjoyed when they were talking to them, and they couldn't understand their overjoyment without thinking they were drunk.
Yeah.
But they were telling them when Jesus talked to them, they fell backwards because what he was telling them was so overwhelming, they just fell backwards. And I can tell you, when you really start hearing what actually is your life experiences as your ideas, your fault, if you want to call it a fault or faulty thinking, it's always up to you. That's something we try to stress every night, every day. Is that it's always up to you. You have to take charge. You're in charge because you were given to choose this day. So you're in charge. Choose a better day. Wouldn't you say?
I would say, and hopefully in the simplicity of our message that, like I said, I know that there's a lot of people giving a lot of different messages and a lot of techniques and things to do. And sometimes this message can just sound so simple that you say, well, there's got to be more to it than that. But as Mr. Lindell said even a few weeks ago, try the simple first. I mean, you have nothing to lose in trying what it is that we say. And we don't benefit one way or the other if you try it or you don't try it. This is God's message through us to you. So we're just being conduits. We're being obedient to what's been given to us. But we gain nothing by you trying what it is that we talk about each week. and then you experiencing the benefit.
Yeah, that's what we're here for, to share it.
Yeah.
We experienced it, and we're sharing it, experience it, because everybody will eventually experience it. And what you're going to experience is you're going to see what you're thinking and feeling is actually making space in your world of experience to experience it. In other words, complaining only gets you more to complain about, because all things produce after their own kind. So complaining only gets you more to complain about. And I understand there's times when you disagree with things, but be cautious about what you're saying is and is not, because that's the difference that makes the difference. As you think you are, simply, that alone is enough to tell you that you're on track or you're off track, isn't it?
It is. It is. And like I said earlier, we're all accountable. We all have things that, whether we see in the news or we're interacting with a loved one or somebody in passing tells us something, and these things affect each and every one of us, in various ways, but we're all impacted. But you have to think about, what is it that I ultimately want to experience, manifest in my world, and give your attention or turn to that.
Yes. I hear often, I hear very often from people, and they'll say, that doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense. But you have to be in it, thinking from it, for it to make sense. And that's the difference that makes the difference. You're on all the time. You're told you're praying ceaselessly. So if you're complaining about something, that's praying for that, isn't it?
It is. It is. And it goes back to, you got to decide what you want to be, do, and have, and begin operating from that. But the complaint, as Mr. Lindell just stated, is the prayer for the thing that you're complaining about. And the only thing that you can do with that complaint is bring about more of that thing that you're complaining about into your world.
That's true. That's it. That's it. Our message is, as you think, you are. That leaves it where you are all the time. They themselves are makers of themselves. If you just sit in a silence and repeat that to yourself several times, it's going to have an effect. You see, each time you sit and meditate, contemplate on different ideas, it draws to it ideas that are favorable to your thinking and feeling. But you still have to start somewhere. You have to start, right?
Absolutely. And I want to go back to a parable that Jesus told me. He said, when you clean a house and you get all the negative spirits out, you have to be mindful of managing that house. Otherwise, the negative spirits that you've cleaned out will not only come back, but they'll bring friends. And so if you don't want to live out a life of negativity, for example, and you begin changing your thinking, you can't go back to the old path, because what you're going to find is, when you go back to the old path, even the new stuff, you're going to begin to curse. And all of a sudden you're going to say, none of this stuff worked. And what's going to happen is you're going to see just that in your life, none of this working, because that's your proclamation.
Yeah, when you ask, why did this happen? No, who happened? See, what did you happen to think about that brought this about? And all if you're seeing the evidence, it's easy to trace it back to where you were thinking. And when you do that and you see that you're actually setting yourself up or setting yourself free, you'll choose to set yourself free rather than set yourself up. I think so. I hope so.
Well, I like that you asked the question. You said, you're going to ask the question, why did this happen? And you put a twist in there. You said, no, you got to ask the question, who happened? And none of us want to acknowledge ourselves as being the who that's manifesting the life that we're experiencing. But until we,
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Jesus said it himself. I of myself can do nothing. It's the Father within me who does all the work. So he's constantly talking to his Father, and that's what you're told to do. Go in the closet, close the door, when you're alone, speak to your Father which is in heaven. You don't have to go in the closet. If you just be quiet, find a place where you just be quiet and think only on things that are lovely and of good report. That's the secret. If you're thinking only on things that are lovely and of good report, and as you think you are, you do, you have, you be, there's the secret right there. As you think you are, period. Not why you think that way, not because of something somebody else said, but what are you thinking? That's what's really important. That's really the news of the day for you, isn't it?
It is, and it doesn't mean you got to go back into therapy to find out the why. As Mr. Lindell said, you got to decide what it is that you want to manifest and begin thinking on those things. And so what we're talking about in essence is you. He said it before earlier, discipline, taking responsibility, taking ownership for your thinking. This is a first-hand, first-person experience.
Yes, and you are doing so. See, that's the thing. You're doing so momentarily, but can you expand it? See, we're talking to you now, and you're probably thinking, okay, but what about 5 minutes from now or an hour from now? Are you still thinking the same way? Or do you feel the same way? Because it's what you think and feel is your world of experiencing. So you can change what you're thinking and feeling so you can change your world of experiencing. It's as simple as that, but you have to keep it simple. Because if you complicate it, you'll just put it off until later. Remember what I said, and then later comes an, are you ready now? No, not now. But you'll just forget it. And it is in our forgetfulness, we're still thinking feelingly. So if you're forgetting what you're saying and thinking, it shows up in your life, and then you wonder, what happened? You happened. That's what happened. And that's what keeps happening, what you're doing and feeling. Attitude, attitude, attitude. About what? Everything. You have attitudes. I know you have attitudes you're not even aware of, but you can become aware of them if you'll be still, because they'll show themselves to you, and they'll show you the answers. Look, I didn't figure anything out. That's for damn sure. I didn't figure anything out. It had to be given, but I had to ask to get it. And you are to ask because you were given to choose, and he's not telling you what to choose. That's your business, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of your business, many of us, we get so focused on looking at the world without, how can I change this person? How can I make this person's life better? And we never really look at first cause and look at our own lives. When your life changes, when you begin to improve your thinking, what you're going to find is that the world without is going to also follow suit. Now, it doesn't mean that the person that's drinking is going to stop drinking, but you'll look at that person drinking from a different mindset. It doesn't mean that the person that may be unloving is going to be less unloving, but you'll look at that person with new eyes, and you'll see them more realistically. And then that's how your world is changed. But we get ego keeps us so focused on the without, on everybody else, that we never get our own thoughts in line, and then we wonder why the world around us has also not changed.
Yeah. It is a conundrum in some ways.
Yeah.
But actually, it's a feeling. It's a feeling that you can nurture into success.
Yeah.
But you have to have the feeling. And the feeling is, I am that, whatever it is you're looking for.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, what you're looking for is looking for you. So be careful what you're looking for, because you'll get it. Wouldn't you say?
I would say. So in saying that, what would you say to the listeners in closing about be, do, and have?
Do a thing, and you shall have the power. Do it. Not thinking about it. Do it. Not trying it. Do it. Do a thing, and you shall have the power. If you're not doing it, you just disavow yourself of having any power. But you do. You have great power because God gave it to you when he gave you choose this day. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Well, sir, like always, it's been a great talk.
Yes, I always enjoy it. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you. Have a great one.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
People just want to know what you did to be successful.
The 4 CDs that I have out there, it's all there. If you took any one of the CDs and actually followed through on what you understood there, you could change your mind, change your world. All you have to do is just listen to the CDs. It's always reiteration and reiteration.
I want to go back to the 4 CD set. Go to metaphysicalarttheater.com. We can only mail in the U.S. right now, but for those who are outside the U.S., we can send you a digital bundle with everything so you'll get the enjoyment without waiting for it in the mail. Matter of fact, those who are in the U.S., if you would rather have the digital copies, we can do that as well. metaphysicalarttheater.com.